Okay, so we're gonna go and pull the motor mount. We're gonna go and pull the transmission lines off because they're different with these ones that we left in the car. And we're gonna pull the front diff. Now to pull the front diff, you gotta have both the stubs out, which we already took out on this one. Those lock the diff in, even if all the bolts are out. So these are big E-Torques, bigger than my set goes. We're gonna use a 14 millimeter 6-point. And we're going to turn you a little bit. We're just gonna go and bang these out. We're not gonna use this mount because it's different. And that's on a peg. And it lifts out just like that. So that disposes everything down in here. We're going to take a 10. Go and bang that out. And if you saw that or not, hold on a second. Those lines are held in there with like a 10, like a long 10 bolt, and it just has a nut on it. So that one stayed on there. We'll go ahead and thread that back on there, put it down there. We're going to go on and bang out this front diff, change impacts here, and take that 14 off, put a 16 mil on. We only have 4 bolts holding it in. Leave that one. And it should stay on there by itself. We should have to wiggle it. Let's see here. So freaking greasy. Yeah. So I grab it, give it a little wiggle, and it should come right off. Pretty heavy. Pretty heavy. There's a spider behind there too. Okay, so what makes it sit in there is it has an oil ring. Has an oil ring right here. And we'll make sure all that's good. It feels like it's still good. And that sets in that deal right there. So it does have diff fluid going through the oil pan. That hole is separate. So we probably ought to make sure the oil pans are identical. I'm almost certain they are. But we'll go and triple verify that. And we already took the flywheel and everything off previously before we did the rear main, of course. And at this point, we just have a whole bunch of bolts to take the oil pan off. And we could drop the pan. I guess next we're going to change that oil pan gasket. We'll jack it up in the air higher. We'll change the gasket. Once we change the gasket, we can put the pan back on. And it calls for new bolts. What I found out on these, you're very careful. The old ones are perfectly fine. Use a torque wrench to put them back on with. Don't overdo it. And so on. So, yeah. And just to verify this is the new or the good engine. And I'd like to be able to take this thing outside and pressure wash it, but I just don't really know that's going to be worth our while to do that. So it's a crack, but just a piece of flashing. I'm not really sure how I would do that. That's what I'm trying to get at. I don't really have anything here to do that with. We have the cherry picker, but the cherry picker, once it goes past that concrete, is not going to roll. It's going to be very hard to get back on the concrete. So we'll see. We can definitely clean up the oil pan when we take it off, but just this area in here we may have to leave like it is. I don't know. Okay, so like any other project, there's always surprises. The first surprise is the oil pans are different. You can see in correlation to the space here is about 10 inches. That one is way shorter to the axle. So we're going to have to clean this nasty thing out and use it. The next problem is the pickup is different. As far as I could tell, the oil pump and everything is the same, hopefully, because we can't use that oil pump. We can't even really use that pickup because that pickup has a screen in it, and as we clean it out, but that screen's going to be full of crap from the engine. The third problem is, and probably the worst problem, is somewhere in here. I seen it when I was taking it off. If I can find it again. Yeah, it's right here. There is a oil squirter laying in the oil pan. Where is that from, you ask? Well, we really don't know. I think that squirt's on the rod. It could be from up top. I just really don't know. We'll have to do a little research. Maybe rip the old engine apart and see. But, yeah. So, that's definitely an issue. I guess, I'll take this damn glove off before I get you guys all oily. I guess we'll just keep going. I mean, hopefully this works out. Everything else looks the same, just brackets and oil. I mean, maybe that pickup's the same. Hopefully it is. I really don't have to use that one. We'll have to get a tape measure out and do a little measuring to see where that hits in the pan. But you can see here, the distance from where the axle goes through the front is a lot shorter, and that one's way back there towards the back. The gaskets are the same, so that's always good. And it's the shape of the pan for the shape of the subframe, I guess. So if we get this sorted out and get our oil cooler housing sorted, I think we should be pretty much good to go. I don't know. What we're really going to have to look at is the bracketry on the front of this engine. Hopefully it's the same, because this bracket here does not come off. The whole alternator is part of the engine. But I mean, just by looking at it, it looks the same. So hopefully it is. Okay, so after getting on the YouTube, this is what we came out with. We have the squirter of the new engine, and somehow, I guess that's pressed in there. There you go. That's just totally just fell right out of there, right? So we got that out. This has one little banjo bolt holding that in. Just enough room to get up there and get it. So we took one out of the old engine. I just blew through it, and it's all open. So we're going to transplant that into that. And from what I was kind of reading, that's a pretty common problem. And it doesn't seem to cause a lot of issue. So hopefully the engine's okay. I mean, everything looks okay for what I could see. That's number 5 cylinder what did that. I hate to take off the bearing caps. I feel like if I do all that, you know, I don't know. Maybe I should. I feel like we need new bearings once we take the cap off. I don't really want to go through all that. I think there's more chance I have an issue with that. Nothing looks bad. Nothing looks wrong. There was nothing else in the oil pan. It's all clean, which you wouldn't always be able to tell. So that's where we're at with it. I'm going to go ahead and put that squirter back in, and we'll find some torque specs on it here and torque it back down. It wasn't very tight. I felt about, I would say about 15 foot-pounds is what it felt when I broke it loose. Maybe I should reach up in there and try to touch the other ones and make sure they're not loose. I don't really know what else to do. I mean, I know you could buy new ones of those. If we do all that, we might as well just rebuild the whole damn thing. And, you know, I don't know. But maybe what we ought to do, we'll put that squirter back in. Maybe before we clean this oil pan up, that's going to take forever, we'll dump all the junk out of it. We'll get a box or something to put it in, and we'll hold that up. Well, it took the pickup off. I need to put the pickup back on, the windows tray back on after I put the squirter in. Hold the pan up to the new engine, the old pan up to the new engine, and make sure it clears that pickup. If not, we're going to have to change the pickup. It's not really that big of a deal. And if it's clean, maybe we'll change it either way, just to make sure we're good. But yeah, probably before we go too much further, we're going to pull that valve cover and look at that exhaust camshaft and make sure nothing's broken up top before we go through all the effort to clean that old nasty pan up. It's going to take me at least an hour or two to do that. Other than that, the oil in the new engine looks fine. Everything looks fine except for that squirter. So we're just trying to cover all the bases here. We'll definitely pay some special attention to the number 5 connecting rod and make sure that nothing is messed up with that. It's the last thing we want. Okay, so where we're at, we went ahead and put the nozzle back in. Everything went in okay. We put the new motor pickup back on. Then we took the oil pan, just kind of held it up there, and it goes right on, doesn't interfere. And measured them. The pickup comes down the same spot. This one's angled just a little bit, but after looking at the pans, it should be more than fine. The old one, the screen stopped up, and we're not going to be able to clean that out probably unless we buy a new pickup. And if this one clears, everything's good. There should be no issue at all. So it does clear the oil pump too, which I measure them. They are the same distance. And somebody told me to check that nut too. So we might do that. Get the torque wrench out and do that. So I think what we're going to do here is just start cleaning this thing up. I dumped all the big chunks out of it. And it's not that bad, I guess. I'm not sure where to start with it though. Now there is little holes that go down into this valley right here. So we're probably gonna have to take this off and clean all the garbage out of there. And the other side, there is not. Oh, there is one. There's a little one on that side. But that one doesn't. Okay, that doesn't get engine oil. That's only. I don't think. I don't know. We'll look into it. I don't think it's engine oil down in there. It should be fine. We'll get this old gasket off here, get the outside and inside all cleaned up. We'll be ready to reinstall that and put the pan back on. Okay, so it's next morning here. We got the engine on the engine stand. I don't like that at all because it's only held on by 4 aluminum bolts. And I just snugged them up, made sure I didn't over tighten them. Did it as good as I could do it. It's holding so far, but it's very sketchy. If that falls off of there and falls on that floor, I don't know. It's probably gonna break the head or break the block. But I'm not really sure what else to do with it. My engine stand had 6 legs there to hold on. I'll be better, but I mean, no engine stand has that. So what are you gonna do? So I'll have to leave it like that for a little bit. We don't need to leave it on there real long. And so we just flip that upside down. We're gonna clean the gasket surface off. We did get the squirter put back in to see in the last clip. And then here's the oil pan. It probably looks a lot worse on camera than what it was. It was just full of stuff, man. And it soaked in the parts washer all night. That got a little bit of it out. And I'm taking it outside and taking gasoline and a brush and got all the rest of it out. There was a couple of nooks and crannies, but it took a screwdriver and scraped that out. Sprayed it out with a garden hose as much as we could. We have it all open, so it's not going to hold any water. And we'll probably go and take the gasket off, clean the surface, maybe take some compressed air and blow it out one more time. But it's overall very, very clean. And the outside isn't too bad. I mean, it probably looks like hell on camera, but we cleaned a lot of that up. The outside doesn't look bad. Short of having a hot tank, even that's not going to get 100% of it off. You're not going to get it looking much better than that. So we got to reassemble, like I said, clean the gasket surface, reassemble the end caps here. About to put the old sealer cone on there and get all that sealed up good. So we'll go do that now. Okay, so we're just kind of going along. It's too long to make a video of every detail. So we're just kind of going along and doing like a, I don't know, like a basic rundown of what's happened. So first thing, the one oil level sensor has a big gouge where the rod hit it. It's probably still good. I don't really care to find out if it is or isn't. So we use the other one. We have a good one. Why not use it? Okay, so we had to end up switching the oil pickup from the blown up engine. The other one, it seemed like it was touching, like you could still bolt the pan on, but it was touching the pan. And after a while, maybe that might snap it off. I don't know. I don't we're not going to take any chances. So what we have here, everything's reinstalled. We had one casualty, and that was my bad. A little too tight on the aluminum bolt, snapped it. We might just drill it out. I don't think it really makes any difference, only on the windage tray. It probably makes no difference. The important thing is we got the head of the bolt and it's not in the engine. That's the biggest thing. So we have the gasket surface cleaned up on the block. We have the new gasket just setting on there. We have all of the plates installed. We used RTV black on all that so we know it won't leak. And we have the new level sensor installed. We have the gasket mating surface pretty much cleaned up. We'll wipe it off one more time, make sure it's all good. We're going to reinstall this pan. Now, since we're on the engine stand, we have some decisions to make here. I can put the pan on, I can put the front diff and the stub on just like it is, but that's going to add a lot more weight to this. So I may not put the front diff on until it's off the engine stand. It's only 4 bolts, not that big a deal. So the plan is to install that, install the pan, get everything done on the bottom, and probably while it's upside down, I'll go ahead and pull all the water pump and everything off. Remove all that. We'll flip it back over. Then we're going to pull the valve cover. We're going to pull the exhaust camshaft out. We'll retime everything, and we'll install the rest of the new parts we got along with the brand new valve cover. Okay, so here we are, we're all installed, and I already know in the comments a lot of people's gonna be hating on me, or they're gonna be hating on me no matter what. No matter what I do, people's gonna hate. They're gonna hate me about reusing aluminum bolts. Now, my past experiences, which have been a lot, if you don't cross thread these going back in, or somebody hasn't over torqued them before and messed up the threads, they always torque back down perfectly fine. Same with the valve cover. I don't know how many cars I had in here. The valve cover bolt's been taken off and on. And as long as you treat them with kid gloves, that means gingerly, you're not gonna have any problem. So all these are torqued down to 6 foot-pounds. That's like 8 Newton meters, 5.9 foot-pounds, what it comes out to be. And I run these 3 different times. We're gonna find out with these gaskets, and these gaskets don't take sealer. These have like a rubber oil ring type deal that goes around them, so you don't need sealer that adheres to that metal. So you do 3 sequences. You start at the middle. I start at the middle. You can do whatever you want. I start at the middle, work my way out. Everything's snug, right? The next one, I'll go everything at 5.9 foot-pounds or 8 Newton meters. Same sequence from the middle out, just like any other oil pan, any other valve cover you ever do. That's the way you do it. Some manufacturers have a bizarre way of tightening it up. In the end, doesn't really matter. So after you do the second one, you go back and do a 3rd sequence. What you're going to find, every sequence you do, the bolts that were tight are now going to be loose. And usually by the 3rd sequence, you can do a 4th if you want. Just go back and click them all and make sure they're all good. Once you do that, you're not going to have a problem. And you see people on the forums, oh my god, the forums. Come on, man. There's a lot of bizarre, wild, fantasy, I don't know how to work on anything opinions on the forums. I've never gotten anything good off a forum, and that's a bold statement. I'll tell you right now. YouTube is where it's at, man. A lot of those guys in the forums are, a lot of guys on YouTube are too, are coil-over and wheel guys. Coil-over wheels and brakes. And that's what they do. That's it. Very few people out here is doing the videos on this stuff that is actually going to show you how to fix your car. And that's what you need. Who the hell wants to see coilovers, brakes, and wheels? Or changing out the brake fluid for $100 fluid. Okay, because that's really productive. While your water pump's failing and while everything else is on the verge of destruction, you're spending money on wheels and that nonsense? Come on. Come on. This is the real deal. So I cannot wait for this to audio. So we got to disassemble it all and save what we want to get off of it. So anyhow, the only regret I have so far is not being able to clean this block like I was saying earlier. Maybe his last video, I can't really remember. So yeah, at this point, we're not going to put the diff on. we're gonna go and we're gonna pull this water pump and all that crap off first. If we see any hoses that look remotely bad, we're just gonna order them. I mean, we have a big enough budget, we could order whatever we want. Just we gotta put the brakes on it at some point. We don't want to have $10,000 in a $6,000 car, because we still gotta do the interior. We still don't know if the transmission's good. On and on and on and on and on. One of the headlight bulbs are missing. That has concern for me of the light control module could be having issues, so we have to figure all that in too. So anyway, here we are. Everything is installed as far as oil pan goes. I'm gonna go ahead and pull that water pump off. We're just gonna pull it off, leave it off right now in a big clump, and we'll set it out of the way, and then we'll install the new one as time goes on here. But let's get this flipped back over, and we're gonna do the engine timing and all that stuff, which will be in the next video. So that brings me to today. That's all for today's video. Tune in tomorrow, which will be maybe a day or 2 days for you guys. We're gonna do the new valve cover, the engine timing. We're gonna look at the camshaft. It should be very interesting, and hopefully it's all good. That's it. Thanks for watching.